special guest in the studio with us today, author, philosopher, Mr. Martin Fritz is with us. Martin, how are you, sir?
Great, thank you.
Glad to have you with us. I appreciate you coming in. You're an author. You have written a book entitled The Human Herds.
Our Human Herds.
Our Human Herds. Okay, I'm interested in from where you got the name. What does that mean, Our Human Herds?
Well, it's a book about society at large, why we create society as we do, why we see right and wrong in the ways that we see it. And it puts forth a theory called dual morality, which says human beings exist as they do because of the moral systems that are within us.
Okay.
And I'll answer your question, but first I want to say you have to answer the question first, what is morality?
What is morality?
If you were the only thing in the universe, there could be no morality. It wouldn't matter what you did. You were all that there was.
Because you can't
interact with anything. There's nothing
exactly.
to interact with. But once you have something other than you, a dog, a river, a god, a wife, you create the situation where morality comes into being. Okay? How should you treat a dog? Should you pet it? Should you kick it? Should you be scared of it? And what about your wife? Or what about God? You know, what's your responsibilities to it, and what's it going to do for you? So morality is a relationship, and human beings always lived in groups. Okay,
right.
And this is how morality is manifested, is because we are a herding species, you might say.
I see.
And that's the key to the book, is to understand that we are a grouping species, and our morality is how to interact with each other. And the philosophy, and what's new about this, is that it puts forth the idea that we really don't have a single moral system within us. We have two moral systems within us, and I'll tell you why. When we're a group, let's say the occupants of this building were our group. And today, we had enough food for everyone, enough shelter, and enough protection. What would be the proper distribution of that food? We would generally say, if there's enough for all, then all should have enough, right? And if we can all fit in this building, get out of the rain, we should all be in here. And that's a scenario that our group would be in. But through most of human history, that wasn't the scenario. Through most of human history, the scenario that our group faced was, there's not enough food for all. Okay? If we share all of our food equally, we all die. So if by sharing all of our food equally, we all die, that can't be the way we should distribute our food.
Right.
So in those situations when there's not enough for all, we have to prioritize people and things. Some people are going to get enough to survive, and some are going to get much less, and maybe they'll die.
This sounds pretty cold.
Well, let's say it's cold-hearted reality.
Cold-hearted reality, that's what it is.
So what we end up within us,
yeah,
because nature has demanded it,
right,
reality demands it, is we have a situation, we have a moral systems within us that we can decide right and wrong in one way, sort of horizontally. When there's enough for all, we should all have enough, we should all be treated equally, everyone can be about the same. Or we have the other situation where we have to prioritize people and things. One is a very horizontal system, one is vertical. Some can be better than others, some can be worse. So we can find out in some cases equality can be right, and in other cases, whether we like it or not, inequality must be right. And
wow.
That's the nature of the book. And that's why it's called The Human Herds, because morality springs from our long ancestry.
Okay.
It's the morality of plenty versus the morality of scarcity. And what the book goes on to explain is each of these moral systems ends up developing their own language and their own codes. The end of one language, the end of one moral outlook, our horizontal moral outlook of plenty, tends to be pleasure. We have enough, we're safe, you can express your emotions, let it all hang out. It doesn't matter, don't act your age, act your shoe size.
Yeah.
It's essentially the morality of the culture we live in now.
Right, that's where we are.
We have plenty, right?
Reminds me of the 60s.
Right, well.
Kind of, sort of.
But in other circumstances, through most of history, when things were much harder, okay, when people in society itself was verticalized, you had to be stoic. It was self-control, because you and your family had to be seen as one of the more meritorious people that were going to get the goods and services allocated to you.
And those who were not?
And those who were not were
They were lost.
They were left at the bottom. Now, the book opens with the sentence, 200 years ago, if a woman were raped and became pregnant, we'd kill the rapist and spare the baby.
Right.
Today, if a woman is raped and becomes pregnant, we spare the life of the rapist and we kill the baby because we have abortion and we're getting rid of the death penalty.
Right.
So how could our morality have flipped so completely in 200 years? 200 years ago, you had people like Thomas Jefferson and George Washington demanding liberty while holding slaves. How is that possible? Those are the kind of questions that are answered in this book. Not only is it possible, but it's fundamentally a necessary step or a normal and natural step in the social development of democracy. Democracy tends to unfold from the top down.
Yes. Let me ask you, though.
Okay.
Does the book lean one way or the other, or you?
No.
You're right down the middle.
Right. The book merely explains our morality.
Explains the
It doesn't
differences.
advocate one side or another.
Okay.
And in a sense, it says this is why we tend to advocate one side or the other in these circumstances. The book actually goes on to explain, that the group benefits by having people advocating all moral sides at the same time. You have some people saying, under these circumstances, we should be more horizontal in sharing, and other people at the same time say, no, under these circumstances, we're not quite there yet. We need to be more careful. We got to preserve and protect and hold on to traditions because we need to be more vertical sometimes and hold on to our way. And what the book says is by having both of those moral views hitting us at the same time, we sort of decide. The group decides which way to go. Is it all right to go a little leftward now or rightward?
More to the right.
And we see these arguments played out every election year.
See that. So it just depends on it just depends. So there's two moralities.
There's two moralities. We're always inundated with this. They're within you and they're within me, okay? And every situation, we're just trying to decide ourselves, which do I apply to this situation? And the two moralities, like I said, end up with their own language. You call it liberal and conservative, striving for equality or striving for merit. I'll give you an example of how it plays out. The school system. Okay?
School system, okay.
We want everyone to go to school,
Right.
and we want everyone to pass.
Right.
Right, that's our goal. Okay, that's our very horizontal and equal goal. You have it and I have it. But within us, we also have this goal that says, you know what? The kid that works really hard and does all of his homework, he's going to get the A. And the kid that sort of doesn't do anything and loafs around, he should also pass, just like this kid. They should both get the same degree.
That doesn't seem right.
Right.
That
So
doesn't
why
seem
should the
right.
one who works harder only get the same as the one who works less? So in a way, we want to say we believe in equality, but also within us, we have this notion that treating unequals equally is not justice either.
Right.
Now, we're divided in other ways. So we'll take the prison system. We think prisoners should be reformed where they can be. Okay? It's a very horizontal. Everybody is important. We want everybody to be made a member of society.
Right.
But we also want them punished.
Right. Well, they're in
Okay,
prison.
get them out of society.
Sure.
Okay?
Take them out. Lock them
So
up.
we want to save them, we want to reform them, we want to punish them, and we want to get them out. We want two ways. And the reason is because our two moral codes tell us this is the right thing to do, and we're constantly debating these things in our own hearts as well as with the neighbors. The two ends of our moral codes are a little bit different. Our horizontal moral code, which the book calls Mind One, the end is pleasure. It's very much in the present. And the other moral code, the vertical moral code, the end is happiness. Now, sometimes we give up our pleasures for our happiness, and then other times we give up our happiness for our pleasures. If I said to you, Pat has a great personality, but not much in the way of character. Or, another person's point of view said, no, Pat has great character, but not much in the way of personality. You'd know sort of what they were talking about, but you'd have a hard time putting it into words. If I said, Pat had a great personality, but not much in the way of character. But if I said to you, as an example, this person has great personality, but not much in the way of character, you'd sort of know what I meant.
I kind of know what you mean. Yeah.
Right. Because personality is the one way we describe our Mind One horizontal self. Okay. one person's personality is as good as the next.
Okay.
We're all equal.
Right.
You might not be compatible with that personality, but certainly as good as anybody else's.
Personality is personality.
Character, on the other hand,
Yeah.
you can have good character or bad character.
That's true.
Okay? Character is vertical.
Yes.
Character is living up to a standard that exists outside of us.
Got it.
Got it? And we, because we have these two moral codes, also come up with this language that suits each one. Personality is how we describe people when we're talking in one moral code. Character is the way we describe them when we're talking in the other.
Okay.
And we do this interchangeably, and unless we step back and analyze it like we're doing philosophically here on the show, most people sort of don't take the time to say, why do we do these things? Now, these two versions of morality, again, manifest themselves in many ways. I'll give you an example. Whenever we're morally conflicted, these kinds of things come out. Let's say you are a passenger on the passenger ship, the Titanic.
Titanic, 1912.
When it hit the light,
Right.
when it hit the iceberg.
Right.
Okay, it's going down.
Going down, we're sinking.
There's nothing you can do about it. You stay on that ship, you're going to die.
Gonna die.
The captain has been knocked unconscious, or for whatever reason, they come to you as this bright guy wearing a nice suit, and they say, you must be a smart guy. You tell us. We run to the lifeboats. There's only enough room for 1/3 of the passengers.
Okay.
Only 1/3 of the people can live. 2/3 must die. And you're going to decide
Oh boy,
who lives and who dies.
that's a tough one. But I would have to say, in the beginning, I would have to say that the first to go onto the lifeboats would be women and children.
Okay, I'm going to show it.
Women and children.
Right, so you're saying that you can prioritize people in this moral crisis,
Yeah.
this moral situation. I'm prioritizing. These people are going to get what we have, the rest aren't. That's just how it is.
That's the way it is.
Now you have two moral standards. In the book I describe them as mind one, the morality of equality, mind two, the vertical morality.
Got it.
And by the nature of your response, I can tell already you're sort of a conservative kind of guy.
I am a conservative.
Right. I asked that same...
And proud to be, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're on the side that tells society this vertical structure is the way we should be going under the current circumstance. Now, some people are opposed to you. They say, no, Wayne's wrong, we need to go this way.
I've heard that.
And we, as bystanders, wait to be influenced, and we make our decisions. Who are we going to follow? Yeah. Now, I asked that same question about the lifeboats to two university professors.
University professor.
Yeah, one was a doctor of philosophy, the head of a philosophy department at a major Eastern university.
Okay.
And the other was a doctor in a local college.
Okay.
The one at the university, the philosophy department head, sort of hemmed and hawed a little bit, talked a little bit about different moral codes, and I cut him off. I said, come on, man. The boat's sinking. You're head of a philosophy department. If anyone should know this answer, it should be you. He sort of stepped back a little bit, eyes widened, and he said, I guess I would draw straws.
Oh, no.
Now listen, now he wants to be morally correct. In his mind, what he's telling us is everybody's life counts equally. I'm not in a position to decide this person's life is more valuable than that person's. Okay? If they personally choose not to get on the boat, that's their decision. It's a lifeboat. If they want to step back, that's fine. But I'm not going to be the one to make the decision.
Okay.
Every life is equally valuable to me.
Okay.
They were a mind one person.
Oh, boy.
Okay? Everybody has a chance at the boats. I asked the local college professor, and he said women and children first, and he also said if I had a chance I could go through the manifest and maybe pick and choose certain people like medical doctors who could do something for society, and I'd put them on there. So again, we see the two sides of our morality expressed in how we answer that question.
Interesting. That's very interesting.
And so the whole book, yeah.
This is a big book. What inspired you to write this?
Well, first let me just say, when you're talking about examining a moral code and applying it to all aspects of human endeavor, how many pages does that take?
Well, good question.
So it sort of covers everything from, you know, why is there history, what should we remember and why should we remember it, why do we have science, what is education, who should be educated and what should they be educated towards. It covers all those things.
Right.
What inspired me to write it was I had initially written another book. It was going to be a children's how-to book, and it was supposed to be how to teach your children to think. Okay? The premise of that book was you teach people to do anything by doing it. It's not to ride a bicycle by putting them on it.
Right.
So that book was composed of questions, and it was designed for parents that supposedly once a day around the dinner table, let's say, you could open the book to any point and ask these questions. I'll ask you a couple from the book right now. What is art?
What is art?
Yeah.
What is art?
Well,
That's a good question.
What is not art?
What is not art?
Okay, I'm only using
Well, you know what? I don't know of anything that isn't art in some way.
Okay. So the book had all these sort of very difficult to answer questions.
That's a hard question to answer. What is art?
Because it made people think, right?
Because one's idea of art may not be someone else's.
Why do we have countries?
Ah, that's a good question.
Okay, so the book was filled with all those kinds of questions, and all you had to do was go around the dinner table and ask your kids these questions, and you would go around, and you were the last person.
Mm-hmm.
And you would analyze it, you'd do whatever you had to say, and there was no place in the back of the book for the right answer.
Okay.
It just had the questions. Because it said the way you teach people to think is by doing it. Make them
Got
think. Okay?
Got it. The book is called Our Human Herds, and it is written by a gentleman by the name of Martin Fritz. Do you live in Mount Olive?
Yeah, I live in Mount Olive, and there's also a website, ourhumanherds.com.
Ourhumanherds.com is the website, the philosophy of dual morality and a theory of moral evolution. We're out of time, I'm sorry to say. Mr. Martin Fritz, thank you very much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.